What I'm going to be demonstrating in today's tutorial is how to seam together two pieces of knitwork where you're trying to seam the cast off edges together. So this is incredibly common when you're working something like a shoulder and the work is knit in pieces. You'll have a front panel and a back panel and you're trying to seam those two together. So what I have in my work here is I have like the right side of my fabric, which would be the knit side, on both of these two pieces. And my goal is going to be to seam them across the top and create a nice invisible seam. So almost like if I were doing Kitchener stitch across this top edge. Now how you want to lay out your work to start this is you want to take your two panels and have the two cast off edges lined up right next to each other. So you could think about this one as kind of like the front of my sweater or my front panel, and then this one's my back. And I have the right sides of both of them facing upwards. Both of the purl bump sides are facing down towards the table. Now when I seam, I'm going to be using a tapestry needle. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to use a contrasting color so you can see what I'm doing. You can also use one of your yarn tails if you'd like to, if you have a long one, but you do want to typically seam in the same color as your work. So what you want to think about here is, first up, where do we want to thread in this piece of yarn that we're seaming with? So let me thread this onto my tapestry needle real quick. And where I want to thread this in is I'm going to start with my bottom piece here, and I'm going to unroll this side edge. And what you're going to see along this column are a series of V's. And the V's, they don't look perfect along this column just because it's kind of along your edge. So it's not as clean as the V's in your actual work. But what you want to look for is the topmost V, and you want to go right in the middle of it, from the back to the front. And you're going to pull the yarn you're using to seam with through and leave a bit of a tail here. So I have about 6 or 8 inches over here to the side. So that's how we're going to start. And now we're going to go over to the other side of our work. And again, we're looking for the V's. So you want to find your first V, your first full V, and you're going to go under both sides of it. Pull your yarn through. And again, make sure that tail stays off to the side here. Now you're going to go back over to your other piece of work, and instead of looking for a V, you're kind of looking for like an arrow pointing forward. So here we have that arrow. So I'm actually going in right where that previous piece of yarn was coming out, and I'm picking up both of those sides, pulling it through. Now I'm going to go back up to the other side. And again, I see where that yarn came out. I'm picking up now both sides of the next V. Now I come back down here. I look where the previous yarn is coming out, and that's where I start, picking up both sides of that arrow. I go back up, both sides of the V, back down, both sides of the arrow. Or it almost looks like an A or something like that. So now I'm going to go for a little bit, and then I'll show you what happens next. So let's say I'll go for about 1 inch here. Now that I've gone a little ways, first thing you want to check is, are all of your V's now lining up? So you can kind of see how your work will continue perfectly from one piece to the next piece. Typically, you don't actually want this seam showing at all. So what you're usually going to do is hold onto your tail and then pull the piece of yarn you just seamed with to close up that seam. So now in your work, you've pulled together those two pieces and you can't even see that yarn you seamed with anymore. Once you've pulled it, then you're going to go ahead and start again, pick up right where you left off, and go for about another 1 inch or so again. Now again, you'll hold onto your yarn tail and pull on that to close up your seam. If you ever pull it too tight, what you're going to notice will start happening is your yarn tail will start to get pulled through. You just want to prevent that from happening because you can accidentally pull it too far and have your work start essentially, or your seam start unraveling. So always hold on to this side. That's all there is to it though. So now you'd want to continue across the rest of your seam. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them down below, and I'll see you in the next video.